Please let me introduce Darin Greseth, President and CEO of BG Products Incorporated. Give a little wave there, Darin. Also joining us is Kevin Turpin, CEO of PK Companies. Please join me in welcoming them. We'll start with the gentleman first. An easy question. How have oil prices impacted your business? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, from the service side of things, obviously the capital expenditures are down. So whenever you look at that, when it comes from going out into the industry and trying to create new things, it's taken a lot of innovation, a lot of technology and so forth. So we've actually diversified ourselves. So as the question of the industry being down, it's really driven us to change our piece on what we're going to do when it comes to driving, like working in the facilities. So,
Darin?
I don't know how many of you are familiar with BG Products. We're a little bit different than really some of the other companies that you've talked to. What we are, we manufacture specialty chemicals and service equipment for the automotive industry, for fleet and light industrial, and we're really kind of a student of the combustion engine. And so what we do, the raw materials, if you think about crude oil, we buy group 2, 3, and 4 products, and we make specialty products to either enhance the different fluids on the vehicle, motor oil, transmission fluid, power steering, or we make a finished product. So we are not really directly affected all that much by the raw crude oil because we're quite a few steps down the line. So we ride that wave. I was telling Jeremy, what we do is at the beginning of the year, actually October 1st is the beginning of our fiscal year, we set a baseline for our raw material cost. We call that our cost index, and then we track it every month. And we watch those trends. So as some raw materials may go up, some may go down a little bit, and we kind of trend that, and we do our price increases based on that trend. Mm-hmm. And typically we're several months behind the actual crude oil price.
Well, let me ask you then, what are the export benefits logistically for BG Products being located here in Kansas?
In Kansas? Well, obviously we're right in the center of the country. We have 115 distributors. We have about 72, 73 in the U.S. and Canada, and we export to over 60 countries. What we do, and I'm actually a distributor for BG Products in Michigan, so I'm out a ways away from central part of Kansas, but we have a 2-day turnaround for all of our distributors. So we build a product, they put an order in, within 2 days the product is shipped from either El Dorado or here in Wichita, depending on where it's going, and we guarantee that it'll be on their porch in 2 days. So central location is very key for us.
I imagine.
Internationally, I'll finish real quick. Internationally, we ship from both ports. Actually, all 3, we can ship out of Houston as well. Depending on the size of a shipping container, we either put it on a truck, take it to the port if it's a full container. If it's a 20-foot container, we'll take it up to Gardner, put it in intermodal, put it on rail, and send it to whichever port. So either way, we have very good opportunities based on location.
And Garden's getting the transload facility. That has to help.
Absolutely.
Right. Kevin, let me ask, what is your strategy if oil and gas prices stay low indefinitely?
Oh my goodness. Take up drinking, I guess. I don't know. If it stays indefinite, obviously, again, I talk about in the service industry, we service offshore, midstream, and downstream. So indefinite is a question that shows that you're going to have to go out there and obviously create innovation and technology, and we have done that in the past and in the future. So it's actually always changing, as we always know. One thing that we do is it brings opportunity for us because a lot of the people that whenever they're fat and happy and they're sitting around and you're looking at them and you're out there creating more innovation, it creates opportunity for us. An example would be as if everybody's gone to Branson and seen like Lambert's, right? They throw the rolls. They don't give you the rolls. I use that in the analogy within all of our executives to drive out there and learn how to throw the roll rather than serve the roll. So one of the things that we look at is it's ever changing. Again, with technology, and everybody's mentioned them comments about how kids and millenniums are always looking at their phones and doing that. Well, it's a real deal. So you got to play with that as things roll and make sure that we're definitely improving to be that people that stand out of the crowd. So being a solution provider and obviously providing solutions for low-cost strategies for our customers.
Caron, when does it make sense for businesses to generate power on-site, such as with a combined heat and power installation?
Generally, the two main variables that you think about in that question would be reliability and cost. So for a business who depends on reliable power, whether it's a data center, a hospital, or a manufacturing company that has a significant cost associated with starting up and starting down if they were to get in a power outage, they might turn to something like combined heat and power to get that reliability. Then from an economic perspective, obviously that's the difference between what it costs you for the electricity versus what it would cost you for the CHP installation. For companies who have a way to use that waste heat in their business, those applications are even more economical.
All right. You brought up horizontal drilling and fracking, so I have to ask, what is your company's position on the significant increase of earthquakes occurring in Oklahoma?
Yeah. So we're not causing the earthquakes. We're not out there doing the drilling. I will give a plug to our Corporation Commission in Oklahoma. I think they have done their best to diligently address the issue, and they have taken several steps to try to control that. What I will tell you is in our own company, what we've done is we developed a protocol. So when there is seismic activity, we have a stated procedure for how we go out and we survey our pipelines to make sure that our systems are safe following that event. So we've created, it's really pretty impressive, an internal program, software program, where we get a shake map from the U.S. Geological Survey following an event. We overlay that on our geospatial system, which shows the location of our assets, and we can pinpoint where our assets are and which ones were most susceptible to damage as a result of that event. And then we will deploy our teams to go out and leak survey all of our pipelines that could have been impacted in priority order. So last month when we had the earthquake at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, about 9 o'clock that morning, I already had an email that had gone out to our executive team saying, here's what we're doing, we're mobilizing teams, we should be through with our leak survey in X amount of time. Fortunately, One Gas has not experienced any damage as a result of any of the earthquakes. They're in loosely populated areas. We don't have tons of infrastructure, so we've been just fine.
All right. You did mention the upcoming election, how the policies could change depending on who wins. Darin, I wanted to ask you, what are some challenges that you've faced in recent years with government policies that affect your business?
This could get interesting, couldn't it? Well, and I can only speak for ourselves, and obviously there are a lot of different opinions out there, but I think the three main things that we work on, or that we look at, really are taxes, health insurance, and then really where the policies are going to go as far as environmental rulings and so forth. I would tell you that our corporation, we pay the highest tax rate. I got BKD here to back that up for me. So as one of the parties looks at raising corporate taxes, all that does for our company is it eliminates some of the opportunity we have to grow. Whether it's hiring new people, whether it's research and development, whether it's adding another building or buying a vendor or whatever it might be. Obviously, the money's gone when the money's gone. So one of the things we've tried to do, we invest in our business. We work very steadily on research and development. You mentioned emissions a little while ago, and again, not to be political, but you look at emissions. Well, the engines have become more efficient, but if you know anything at all about the engines themselves, what they've done now is we put either a trap or a filter in the exhaust stream to catch anything that comes out of the combustion chamber. Well, unless you burn 100% efficient in the combustion chamber, where do you suppose most anything that leaves that combustion chamber is going to go? It goes into the filter, it goes into a trap oxidizer, whatever it might be on that particular vehicle. So what we've been able to do is we've taken that R&D money and we tie that back into how do we deal with those emissions. We've built machines now that we can clean diesel particulate filters on diesel engines, where they would take those off and replace them, or what we call a shake and bake, where they'd heat, superheat it to try to break down the carbon deposits and oil deposits left in those filters. So those types of things, if we don't have the money to be able to do that because we're spending all of it back, we're returning it back on taxes, that's definitely going to limit it. On the issue of health care, I think we all know, any of you that are business owners, every year is absolutely a total crapshoot on since Obamacare has showed up. We use a third-party consulting company, but I would tell you, since the advent of Obamacare, our healthcare cost for our 260 employees is up 40%. So is that a big issue? That's absolutely a huge issue for us. And we cover about 75% of that, but that's going to it'll have to change unless we do something different.
Let's talk a little bit about the labor market. Kevin, what issues are you having, if any, with the regional labor market?
Well, when it comes to service side of things, especially being more technical driven in what we do, the labor market seems locally to obviously be a little bit lacking when it comes to training and more of the service trade work that we do. So it's bringing in outsides, which brings them into the local economy, but it is driving prime opportunity for us. When you have a down market, really stable people start to shift. So we look at it as gaining more bench strength in our organization. So in down times, even though we've seen them every 5 to 7 years, ups and downs, one of our big goals is to go out and find the shakers and the people that make a difference in the industry. So bringing people in is a good thing. It'd be great to see more local craftsmen within the oil and gas market and what we do in the maintenance and asset integrity, but it's good to be bringing people into the state. So it's an opportunity and it is a challenge. So,
Darin, would you care to add?
I would. As a transplant to Kansas, I grew up in South Dakota. I've lived in Colorado, Georgia, Michigan, most recently. One of our challenges for a lot of our jobs, there's plenty of opportunity here in Kansas. A lot of great people. I've learned over the 6 years I've been here going through Leadership Kansas last year, this is the best place to live. But if you're trying to recruit somebody from the West Coast or the East Coast, it's difficult, depending on what job titles and positions you're trying to fill. We've recently moved a guy in from Kentucky, that filled one of our executive positions. We've got one coming in from, Southern Arkansas. That was an easy one. But I'm kidding. But that's always a challenge for us. Once people get here, they get settled, they fit into the community, watch the local news, all the things that we have here in Kansas. This is a great place to live. But people think, well, you don't have mountains, you don't have water. I always tell them we do have sand. So that's probably our biggest challenge with it. But primarily at the upper level and high tech and so forth.
All right. Caron, here's a loaded question. What are your thoughts on electric vehicles? Do they make sense for consumers?
Well, of course, compressed natural gas vehicles make more sense. Electric vehicles currently, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. You've got the convenience factor. If the way you use the vehicle allows you to, come home at night and plug it in and charge it overnight, never having to stop for fuel, that's incredibly convenient. There's also the cleanness of an electric vehicle is dependent upon the power source. So just overall, I'm making a broad statement across the country, the electric grid is not terribly clean yet. We're getting better. So as the electric grid cleans up, so will the then emissions associated with that electric vehicle will also get better. And then, of course, there's just the price aspect. You got to weigh the cost of the vehicle compared with the fuel savings that you expect to get from the difference between the electricity to fuel the vehicle versus traditional gasoline or diesel.
Caron made some predictions. I'm going to ask you, gentlemen. Kevin, what's your prediction for the future of oil and gas?
Wow. If I knew that, I'd be sitting next to Charles Koch, I think. The predictions for oil and gas, I would say that they're going to be like they have been in the past. I mean, we have had a crazy spill here where we've seen crude hit record numbers, which obviously drives all of our capital expenditure projects and everything else through the roof for enhancements in the facilities. So all I can say is that, the prediction for we're going to go through our same 5-year cycle, even though the times are coming with natural gas and as we mentioned within the fracking, it really drives the LNG market, which was a total different thing for us when it comes to services. So when you go for, I think it's our 19th year in business, you look at it from doing midstream, upstream, and downstream, and now we have a new one, which is our LNG sector. So a lot of our One Oak was a client of ours throughout all of our EPC contractors is driving a lot of different areas that they can actually create more business for us as a service group. So my prediction of oil and gas, I think it's going to be a little bit mixed. I think you're going to see that they're going to have to learn how to deal with it, and they're still got to operate these facilities. So that's one thing. But the technology piece on us and differentiating ourselves will hopefully root some of our competition out of the market too, because it's going to be a little bit smaller space. So oil and gas, I feel, is going to go on its own trend, and we're going to have to ride the wave. So,
Darin, any thoughts on that?
You know, I'm far from an expert on that particular topic. My team has predicted that we're going to see a slow rise back. We don't feel like there's going to be a huge spike. You know, we're poised to be able to capitalize on it either way. You know, personally, it's nice to be able to pay. I bought by my house the other day $1.88 a gallon. I mean, that is nice personally. But we know that overall that's not good for our economy, and you know, so you have to look at it that way. But as far as our business, I don't think it's not going to be a big effect for us either way. You know, we're very reactive, and as I said, we follow trends. Wherever technology changes, it creates big opportunities for us. So we just look at it that way. Which way do we need to go?
Right. Kevin, I guess you get my final question. What suggestions do you have to grow a company in the current oil and gas environment?
well, you know, again, I'll keep speaking from the service side of things, which I think is one of the toughest areas to be in, because anybody can start up a company overnight and become a service company, even though there's a lot more restrictions. I think in the growth side of things, it's planning before this happens. We've been developing technology and things to enhance our service group for the last 4.5 years. It's been a significant investment, but we've had the money because it's been in good times. Now coming in the tougher times, again, I made the comment about how, you know, the restaurant business is super competitive, and, you know, if you're going to be outside of Branson like Lambert, you're going to throw the rolls. Well, that's back where I'm making the comment of how you're going to grow is you're going to bring on good people, create a good culture, and learn how to throw the rolls. So learning that, driving that aspect will put you to the top, and then obviously everything from there brings innovation within your companies. So.
All right. Thank you all for participating. Let's give them a round of applause.